Welcome back to the Talk with AVC. My name is AVC. We are now in our college football segment, and we've got some big news to talk about, so let's just get right down to it. Skip the pleasantries. Tua Tagovailoa has been injured in Alabama's recent game against Mississippi State. According to reports, Nick Saban wanted to take the young quarterback out. However, Tua himself wanted to stay in for one more drive. Saban left him in, and he sustained a nasty hip flexor injury and will be out for the rest of the season. The question I was been asked is, does this kill Alabama's playoff hopes? In my opinion, the answer is yes. Their strength of schedule is already going to make it hard, but now trying to beat Georgia without Tua, if they end up making the SEC, if they even end up making the SEC title game, I'm going to go with a hard no on that one. I don't even see them beating Auburn without Tua. Alabama, they've benefited from a weak schedule this year. They had one big game that they had to win. It's kind of how Alabama operates. A weak schedule, one big game. If you win it, you're in. You lose it, you're out. They're out. I believe they're still ranked 5 in the polls. I believe a new poll is coming this tonight or tomorrow night. But as of right now, they're the 5th ranked team. And I don't really see them moving any higher for the rest of the year. I only see them trending downward. Minnesota's aspirations were pretty much turned to dust this week unless they can rally back and find a way to win the Big Ten proper from Ohio State, as the upset king Iowa Hawkeyes decided to pull in Iowa Hawkeyes and play mediocre for the full season and play their best game against some team trying to dig out of the cellar and make it to the playoffs. Ohio State, Penn State, every year they seem to do this. And they did it again this week. The hilarious thing was the way Minnesota lost this game. Minnesota was driving down the field, and they were set up for what looked to be a 4th and 2, probably an easy attempt for a first down. One of the players was sticked before that. He was hit very hard. And the coach, being the young caring coach he is, immediately ran out onto the field to go check on him. Here's the problem. The player got back up really quickly. So that is I don't know exactly what the penalty is called, but I think it's unsportsmanlike conduct on the coach. Minnesota was backed up, and they didn't convert the 4th down. Just a bonehead mistake by a young head coach. And it might have just killed Minnesota's season. Do they still have the talent to make the playoffs? Maybe, but they'd have to win the Big Ten proper. Once again, they'd have to beat Ohio State. Speaking of Ohio State, as I said, I believe last week Chase Young's suspension has been moved down to 2 games. Good for him. Like I said, I don't really think it's necessary for him, but for Ohio State, this is very, very important and very big news and very good for them. Favorites keep chugging. Yes, the favorites of LSU, Ohio State, keep pushing forward and keep winning dominantly. It just looks like playground football to them. It really does. And then you got Georgia and Clemson pulling up the rear. I could see Oregon sneaking in if they can win the Pac-12, and if Georgia loses at some point, or if Clemson loses, I could definitely see them sneaking in, but it seems unlikely. Oh boy, we're going back to the Big 12. It seems I cannot do a segment of college football talk here on the Talk with AVC without mentioning some crazy nonsense in the Big 12. As a Falcon fan, this one hurts, but Baylor Bears blew a 28-3 lead to Oklahoma. Oh, God. And they blew it in the 3rd quarter, meaning it was 28-3 at halftime, and Baylor lost the lead in the 4th quarter. That's even worse than the one that was in the past Super Bowl. Oh my gosh. I was watching part of that game, and I remember saying in there, how great, I'm going to get to roast Oklahoma. This will be fun. Baylor, there's no way you can mess this one up. And I even put in my notes, Baylor, Oklahoma game. And then I'm looking, and all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, the score's close. And it's just, oh boy. So what happened? Well, the offense for Oklahoma decided to wake up in the second half, and the Baylor one decided to go to sleep. That's the best way I can put it. Baylor actually had a chance, outside chance of making the CFB playoffs if certain things fell their way, given the fact they were undefeated, and this would have been their biggest game. Possibly winning the Big 12 after this could have been in the cards, but not meant to be. They lose a tough one to Oklahoma, and it's painful. It's just painful to watch. And the Oklahoma hype train keeps moving on, but this was just a classic Big 12 nonsense game. Notre Dame trounces Navy. This was billed as one of the most competitive-looking games. Navy usually plays team stuff. Yeah, well, not this week. Notre Dame just absolutely lit them up. It was a slaughter. There's no other way to put it. And this is the stuff that bothers people about Notre Dame, specifically Notre Dame fans. You'll show up one week against Michigan. They'll come at you with some defense you haven't seen, mess you up, and you get stomped. Or you lose a close one to Georgia. And everyone's like, oh, you lose all your ranked teams. You don't win against tough teams. Okay, and then you play a team like Navy who's supposed to be competitive against you, and you trounce them. It's just inconsistency, and, oh God, inconsistency bothers me. So that was this past week in college football. Let's take a look at what's upcoming this week and what games you should all pay attention to, as they are probably the most interesting to watch. Hang on here, there we go. The big game this week, obviously, is Penn State and Ohio State. This should just be a great game. I would heavily suggest you watch. It'll be a lot of fun. Big rivalry game. Ohio State's really their true, real first test besides Wisconsin. This is really their true first test, and we'll see who runs the Big Ten East. So probably be the team that plays Minnesota, in the Big Ten championship game. As far as other games to watch, I would actually watch UCLA versus USC. Neither of these teams are ranked, but it's a California rivalry game. It'll be exciting to watch, trust me. They're usually fun teams that play each other pretty tough. If you want to watch a Big 12 mess, watch Baylor versus Texas. I personally probably won't much more except for highlights, but if you want to watch an offensive shootout with absolutely no defense played whatsoever, watch a Big 12 game between Baylor and Texas. Other than that, that's probably the best games this week. LSU and all those teams play some nonsense teams that they'll probably run through. I mean, honestly, I'm just scrolling quickly through the schedule here. There's not another game that I would really focus much on watching. But get excited because the college football playoffs are almost here, and we're getting down to the wire. The conference championship games are in a couple weeks. It's going to be interesting to see how this all turns out. All right, thank you all very much for watching this segment of the Talk with AVC College Football. We'll be back in a minute here to do my NFL talk. Oh, we have some fun stuff to talk about with that one. Don't miss it.